Experience 2000, only on NBC 6.
Good morning. It's the last day of the year, the final day of the century, the eve of a whole new millennium today, Friday, December the 31st, 1999.
From NBC News, this is Today with Katie Couric and Matt Lauer.
And you're looking live, actually, at a rainy Times Square in the middle of New York City. The whole world, linked by satellite technology, will look there tonight to ring in the year 2000. The ball that will fall at midnight has just been put in place. In fact, it was raised just about a minute ago. It's a Waterford crystal ball with 504 Waterford crystal triangles, 6 feet in diameter. Now, less than 17 hours to go until the new millennium arrives here in the United States. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today. I'm Katie Couric, joined on this special morning by Tom Brokaw, who's already made his way down to Times Square, where, Tom, I guess you'll be spending most of the next 24 hours. How are you?
I'm very well, Katie, and already this party is underway. As you can see in the background, they have raised that special Waterford crystal ball, and people are lining up and in place in the heart of Times Square. It's always been party hardy here on New Year's Eve, but this, after all, the dawn of a new millennium, so this is a very special time. They've released some balloons, and they're going to phase in their celebration to coincide with what is going on around the world. And as you know, already midnight has struck on the other side of the world in the South Pacific. It landed first in Kiribati, the Chatham Islands, and New Zealand. No reports of any problems in any of those places. All eyes next on Australia, which will ring in the new millennium in about an hour. And Katie, as we take a look around Times Square, we can see that the folks are already in place, but that's just a handful compared to what they expect. There's going to be at least 8,000 uniformed cops in this area tonight, an untold number of undercover officers as well, and they expect between 1.5 and 2 million people before the end of the day, and they're hoping, obviously, that there will be no problems whatsoever. We also want to tell you, as we watch the Waterford crystal ball rise into place, that this new century begins with some news. Today in Moscow, there was a stunning announcement by the Russian President Boris Yeltsin that he is resigning the presidency. He has already turned over control of the nuclear button to his designated heir, Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. Yeltsin says the presidential elections will be held in 3 months. Katie, that's just the beginning of this day, which is going to dawn a new millennium and a new century.
And we'll be ringing it in together, Tom. Thanks. It's been a busy morning already, but let's start right where you are in Times Square. Security is tight, needless to say, and so is space. NBC's Pat Dawson is in the middle of it. Pat, good morning.
Good morning, Katie. Very, very noisy out here. I can just barely hear you. The celebrations have begun this morning. You may have just pointed this out. They've been going on for a couple hours, marking the dawn of the millennium around the globe.
Times Square, of course, is not the only place where security is a top concern this morning. Around the nation, fear of terrorism remains high, heightened by what happened Thursday. NBC's Pete Williams has that story. Pete, good morning.
Good morning to you, Katie. Federal agents conducted an unusual nationwide sweep to question more than 4 dozen people coast to coast who might know whether any potential terrorist attacks are planned for tonight.
All right, Pete Williams. Pete, thanks so much. Fears of sabotage have also prompted tighter security at airports, border crossings, utilities, and tunnels in many states. And around the world, armies of employees won't be partying tonight. They'll be standing by in case that dreaded Y2K bug attacks. NBC's Bob Hager is standing by at the government's Y2K Information Coordination Center in Washington. Hi, Bob. Good morning.
Morning, Katie. Well, this is the center that handles anything that's not terrorism. So any Y2K breakdowns involving electric power or aviation, communications, things like that. The key thing in these early morning hours will be to watch where the millennium is already turned over. And we have already some first pictures of that.
Thanks so much, Bob.
You bet.
It was raining in the early morning hours here in New York. Now the sidewalks are simply a bit soggy. Janice Huff of WNBC TV in New York is in this morning for Al to tell us what the weather's going to be like at midnight. Hi, Janice.
Hey, Katie. I think the partiers are already out here, and they're already dressed with hats, and they're ready to go at Times Square.
All right, Janice, thanks so much. Now let's go back to Tom in Times Square. Tom?
Katie, about between 1 and 2 million people are expected here in Times Square tonight. Most of them will not be able to move around at all. One, however, will have a little more freedom of movement, and that's the mayor of the Big Apple, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who's with us this morning. Let's get right down to business. Overnight, any increased level of threat, any difficulties at all?
Normal night. Nothing unusual.
And we feel very comfortable with the 911 systems in the United States now.
All right, thanks very much, James Lee Witt. I know you'll understand when I say I hope we don't have to talk to you again in the next 24 hours.
I agree, Tom. Thank you.
All right, Happy New Year. Back to you, Katie.
I'm sure he's not taking that personally. Thanks, Tom. The next major place where the new millennium will happen is Australia, a little over 40 minutes from now. Our Sara James is in Sydney. Sara, good day, or actually good evening for you, and Happy New Year. What's the scene there?
Happy New Year to you too, Katie. And people have been practicing their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Happy New Year for the last few hours. I think they've got it down pat. People here are pretty enthusiastic with the new year just 45 minutes away. What they are all waiting for, about 1.5 million of them, incidentally, crammed around this harbor area, is not only the new year, but the spectacular way in which they celebrate here. Katie?
All right, Sara, thanks so much. And we're going to be back to you when the clock strikes midnight in Sydney in just about 40 minutes. And we'll be back with much more on this New Year's Eve morning. But first, this is Today on NBC.